Minnesota Vikings have been around since 1961. And I just want them to win a damn Super Bowl before I die. Welcome to Before I Die with Judd and Jesse on Purple Daily and Score North.
I'm just kidding. I was just playing a practical joke on Ross over there, who struggled to get us up and going, but he's back for week 2. I'm Jesse Pierce, writer for NHL.com, selfie extraordinaire. He's our very own sports dad, Mr. Multitasker, Judd Zulgad. And again, producer Ross back for a second week. How are we, boys?
I'm
based
great.
off the internet issues in this building today, we should just all consider ourselves lucky that this is seemingly off the ground.
It's going. Did I trick you? Was I a little trickster there? Were you like, she froze?
You did, and my heart stopped just a little bit, because even though I have no control over the internet connectivity here, it is a reflection that could be perceived to be poorly upon me. Mm-hmm. And even I know these things don't really happen to Declan, but Declan gets to broadcast from the better studio. I'm literally in like the corner of a hallway.
Well,
yeah,
so
you're
I'm
not
a little
in a good
disappointed
studio for
about
Wi-Fi.
that.
You're in a real bad Wi-Fi spot.
No, but
Now
Judd,
you're
it's actually a hard connection too. It's a hard line, allegedly.
I've learned that doesn't matter. I used to think that was the be-all and end-all of connections. I've learned that it can be spotty too.
I may have been better staying on the Wi-Fi.
Either way, you are back for a second week. Ladies and gentlemen, we have football this week. Cannot wait. I personally was enjoying all of my college football on Saturday. I'm a big college football fan. Oh, love
Cyclones.
it. Go Cyclones.
Cyclones winning games, gambling on games, covering
Iowa
the
has the
spread.
bigger problem. Don't you do this to me, Judd. It's too early in the season to turn on me. All right. Ask
Hawkeyes
Hughes
won
helping me.
too.
Our friend Thor would come at me, and each week I'd come at him stronger. It is rivalry week, Iowa State this week too. Unfortunately, my kid had to be born on the 9th as well, so I have to figure out how to do both. But
What is going on with gambling in your state, though, Jesse? So I saw another Iowa State player suspended, just like Judd referenced, and I thought that was a Hawkeyes thing.
Yeah, no,
It's
we're
both
just gonna
schools.
blame the Hawkeyes. It's not both schools, guys. We're just gonna.
Your quarterback
blame
was
the Hawkeyes.
gambling on games. I mean,
But at least
the
he
Hawkeyes have a
gambled
problem
on his
too.
team winning.
And it's my opinion that because your kid might have been born on Saturday,
Yep.
that's the date. Well, happy birthday to your kid, but you gave him life. So it's my opinion that if
It
you
is
want to
my
watch
day.
the damn football game, it's your day.
So true.
Like,
so
without
I'm
you,
actually,
he
I might
ain't
drive down to
here.
Ames now. That's a good point. Like, you know what? My choice is to be in Ames, Iowa for this game.
Were you
because
happy to be born? If the answer is yes, then mom's going to go watch the game.
I like where your head's at.
Can I hijack for a second, Jesse, and say without a doubt, sorry to all the Iowa State faithful, without a doubt, the Iowa State Cyclones take the field to the cheesiest entrance you will ever see.
Yeah, I still have nightmares about helping blow up that helmet back in the day, my marketing days. It was.
I went to a
it's thing.
K-State. Oh, really? Okay. I went to a K-State Iowa State game last year, Judd, and it's basically a fake announcement that there's a cyclone in the area. Clear the way. The Cyclones are coming through. It is very cheesy, and you know what, though? It's very college football-like, and they eat it up, so good for them.
I went to
Back to
Iowa
you.
State. Dawn and I went because she actually went to school there, and our niece went to school there. So when our niece was there about 6 years ago, we went to the game, and it was fun. That's a fun town. It's a great college town.
Yeah,
It's a great experience. It really is.
it is. Boys, we could go on for
Yeah,
days about
we
the college
could.
football scene. That is my bread and butter. But I think people here, they don't like hearing about hockey. They probably don't like me talking then very much. But let's talk Vikings football if we can. I want to first start with overall NFL. Since we are heading into week 1, I want your boldest prediction for across the NFL for 2023. Judd, why don't you start us off?
Oh boy, this is interesting because there's a lot of potential here. I think that there's a ton of potential for bold predictions. I think it's going to be a fun year, ordinarily is. But here's my boldest prediction. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to find a way to sit Kyler Murray all season long. I think that they are so bound and determined to get Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback, and they named Kyler a captain, but he's on the pup, so he can't play in at least the first 4 games, and it's going to behoove them to have one of these slappies that they currently are going to starting as much as possible. I think they're going to find a way to not play Kyler Murray all season long in the name of getting the first overall pick, which is going to be a competition a little bit because I think Tampa Bay, which comes here Sunday, is going to be god-awful too. So that's my bold prediction, is that a guy that the Cardinals are paying a lot to is not going to see the field for a game in 2023.
So much guaranteed money.
I know.
Just so much.
But they want to lose. And like they're trading guys away. They're making moves to tank. So it makes sense that they would find a way to not have Kyler play. And then I think Kyler will probably be moved at some point.
Sometimes, Judd, when I see what's happening with the Cardinals, sometimes you think it may not have mattered who they drafted. Go back even a few years further with Josh Rosen. I'm not saying Josh Rosen was going to be great, but some of these kids are done no favors by the teams that draft them.
Oh, absolutely.
They got rid of Josh Rosen to grab Kyler Murray. Now they're going to try and perhaps get rid of Kyler Murray to move on for Caleb Williams, who may or may not choose to tell the Cardinals he doesn't want to play for them. My bold take, the Cincinnati Bengals will miss the playoffs this upcoming season. They will miss the playoffs.
Wow.
Reason? Couple of them. First place schedule. Joe Burrow contract issue. Joe Burrow's ability to get injured, not necessarily his fault. That offensive line still is not much better. The division. The Ravens and the Ravens and Steelers both finished over 500 last year. I expect that they will both be better. Only 2 of those 3 teams are going to make the playoffs more than likely. I am going to say Cincinnati will take a step back this year for as much as I like them. And the Bengals will miss the playoffs. That is my bold prediction for the NFL in 2023. I think Jessie tipped her hand and might have a Cincinnati Bengals prediction as well.
I might have a counter, which again, I don't know how bold this was, but I'm going with the Bengals to the Super Bowl. I am giving Joe Burrow a ring. I know earlier on I had said Patrick Mahomes, I would love him as my quarterback. Joe Burrow, easily my second. He is as cool, calm, collected. We all know that. Incredibly poised. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins to catch the ball. Defense, obviously a question mark. The O-line as well, as you had mentioned. They might be a little sus, as the kids say. But I'm all in on the Bengals, I believe. Again, I don't know how bold it is because I think it's not like, oh, really crazy. But I'm sorry. If it weren't the Vikings, it's the Bengals. That's my choice.
I think, and Judd, you weigh in here, since she is saying, if I heard that correctly, that the Bengals will win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
That's fairly bold to pick your team and say that they're going to win it. So I don't know if it's the boldest of bold predictions, but at least you didn't go with they will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. At least you're saying they'll win it.
Yeah.
Well, and the AFC on paper is so much stronger than the NFC right now. I think that the champion of the NFC is going to win the Super Bowl because the AFC teams are going to be so beat up because they're gonna pummel each other. And the NFC, if you look at it as a whole, ain't that great. So like I would not be surprised if we actually saw a Philadelphia or a team like that make a run and win the Super Bowl because the AFC team is going to be so beat to hell by the schedule, in this case, the Bengals, that they played. But no, you know what? Joe Burrow winning a Super Bowl would be pretty cool.
Yeah. See,
I can go for that.
I like it. Those are our bold predictions. As always, let us know what your bold NFL prediction is. We got the Vikings bold predictions now, boys. Let's move over. I'm going to start because mine actually is a little NFL and a little Vikings. It's a little bit of both. And I'm going to preface by saying...
I think I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
I bet you don't. You want to bet $1?
Sure.
Okay, $1. Jed Knife, see if he's correct. I love Justin Jefferson. I'm going to preface this by saying that I love Justin Jefferson. He is the best, the greatest there ever was, ever will be, yada, yada. He is not going to lead the NFL in receiving yards. You know who is? Garrett Wilson. Maybe I'm watching too much Hard Knocks. Maybe I'm just falling in love with this New York Jets team. But Garrett Wilson is so freaking good. He is the Devontae Adams for A-Rod. No question about it, right? He crushed it with inept quarterback ones with Zach Wilson. Still managed 1,103 yards last year. And yes, JJ had 1,809. But I think Garrett Wilson's going to surpass him now that he's got 12 throwing to him. Again, I'm sorry, JJ. I'd love to see it. Judd, do you owe me $1?
I owe you $1 because I thought that you were going to predict the Vikings would play the Bengals in the Super
Oh,
Bowl.
that's that. See, that would be a soft little twist.
Well, you said it sort of like dovetailed in, and so I
fair.
thought it would be the Vikings, but
Yeah.
you can pay me $5 when that does not actually transpire because
All right.
I like Garrett Wilson. I feel like the Jets and Lions team especially is a little bit too much. Like I'm not
Too
sure
hyped.
I'm buying yet, but there are definitely. I will say this: Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson. There are some receivers who are just phenomenal talents.
Mm-hmm.
Roscoe, you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next and let you bring it home. This could almost be a write that down. So write this down or just take it as your Vikings bold prediction. Jordan Addison will be no higher than 4th in receptions on the Minnesota Vikings. Likely behind Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and KJ Osborne.
Ooh.
Historically, in the first round, there are more Jalen Ragers than Justin Jeffersons when it comes to NFL wide receivers. I'm not saying he'll be irrelevant. I'm not saying he'll be a waste of a pick. I'm just saying, last year notwithstanding, when it was more 50-50, generally it takes wide receivers some time to find their way in the NFL. Drake London, 8th overall pick last year. He had 72 receptions in year 1. He was playing for a bad team. Jesse's guy, Garrett Wilson, 83 receptions, over 1,000 yards receiving. Best option on a bad team. Chris Olave, 72 receptions, also not a great team. Pretty much everybody else, 35 receptions or less, including our boy Jamison Williams, who had one catch that we all remember very well against the Minnesota Vikings. So, Jordan Addison will be no higher than 4th in receptions on the Minnesota Vikings in 2023. Again, that does not mean he's a disappointment or will have a disappointing year. There's just a lot of love to go around on that Minnesota Vikings offense.
Can we make note of the shots fired at Ragor that you also tossed in there? That was just, chef's kiss, Ross. I really like that.
He's with the Patriots on the practice squad now, right?
Yep.
Wow. And taking, one pick before JJ, which is
one
incredible.
before JJ. I mean, really, it's shots fired at the Philly Eagles fans, which I can never get enough of. So,
well, and
Bill
they can't
Belichick
stand him,
sees something, though, doesn't he?
I think Bill Belichick's lost his fastball. All right. My Viking prediction, and I think I made this on a few months ago on Purple Daily as well, but I'm going to continue to take a blind leap of faith in what Brian Flores is doing, and I'm going to say that the Vikings defense in scoring, because that's the most important category. In scoring defense, the Vikings will finish in the top 15, which will be a massive improvement. So they'll finish within the top half. I don't think they're top 10, so I think it's 11 to 15, but they will finish in the top 15 in scoring defense. I think they're going to get spectacularly burned at times, but I also think they're going to confuse. There's a list of quarterbacks on their schedule, not named Burrow and Mahomes and Herbert, that they can probably frazzle. And so I think the Brian Flores scheme is going to definitely show some big improvements, and that the Vikings will go from being just a brutal, awful defense to one that is at least considered to be respectable.
So just out of curiosity, Judd, how good do you think the Vikings offense will be? Because if you think the defense is going to be middle of the road and the Vikings offense is going to be pretty good, I think Judd, without saying it, is predicting the Vikings will go to the playoffs again. Perhaps
sounds like
win
it.
the
Probably
division.
the Super Bowl against the Bengals is what I'm sensing, is what he really wanted to say.
I think the Vikings win fewer than 13 games, but I also think that there is a very, very good chance that they capture a second consecutive NFC North title.
Oh,
I'm not buying
let's
the
go.
Lions hype yet. I will buy the Lions hype when I see it fulfilled. I've been on this planet too long to just blindly buy into, the Lions got off to a terrible start last year, rebounded when the pressure was sort of just off, and fans were like, oh, the Lions are back. The Lions are going to be good. The Lions are going to be great for the first time. But we don't know what to expect from the Packers. I love what the Bears are doing, but I think they're a year away from being like a playoff contender. I don't think that they're going to go from 3 or 4 wins to being a playoff contender. I think they're going to take another step. And Detroit, we'll see. But I think the Vikings have, in winning less than 13 games, I think they have a very good chance to win a second consecutive division title.
I don't disagree. And I mean, again, the defense last year set the bar on the floor.
Exactly.
So that's positive, right? We'll go above that. Anyway.
And I don't think everybody player wise on that defense was really that bad. I think that they were poorly coached. I think that O'Connell was so tied up in trying to run the offense that he didn't pay enough attention to the defense. And I think Brian Flores, who is essentially head coach defense, I think he's going to get as much as you possibly can from a lot of guys, where Ed Donatel probably got as little as you possibly can from those same guys, or some of those same guys.
I love what you said about the defense being spectacularly, boy, that's a tough word to say for me, burned. Because with that means they'll also probably have some spectacular plays mixed in there as well, with the confusion that you're talking about, the mixing of play designs. And again, like, Jesse alluded to with the bar being on the floor, how could it be much worse than last year? Even if it's incrementally better, logic would tell you the Vikings should still have a great chance to make the playoffs again.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. Those are the Vikings bold predictions again. You know what to do. Drop your Vikings bold predictions. Let us know how we did. Love them, hate them, whatever you feel like. Let's go back to the offensive side of the Vikings football, you guys. The big conversation ahead of week 1, Justin Jefferson. Obviously, the Vikes got TJ Hawkinson's contract extended, done. That's taken care of. JJ next. Now, according to recent rumors, as of 3:33 today, Tuesday, September 5, there is an offer on the table, is what I have seen. Judd, what insight? You're our insider here on Before I Die. What insight and how important is it that this contract gets done this week, if not today or tomorrow?
Well, I think no matter what, it's going to get done. Now, not Kwesi's Vikings, but Spielman's time. We saw Adrian Peterson, I believe, back around 2012, got done, or 2011, got done the Saturday before the Vikings opened in San Diego at the time. The Dalvin Cook contract, if I'm not mistaken, got done on the Saturday afternoon before the season opened. Therefore, I think it probably gets done this week. I think it probably, just trying to spitball, gets done Saturday. I think one of the important things potentially, though, is it sounds like Nick Bosa's contract with San Francisco is going to get done here soon. And I'm wondering if the Jefferson camp wants to see that to make sure that they can get $2 more, because there's always that pride thing of, I am now the highest non-paid QB. But I've never been concerned that this contract is not going to get done eventually. And I'm going to say I think it gets done this week, because nobody wants to negotiate in season. And Jefferson, who's a cool cat, obviously, but I mean, nothing in training camp about his demeanor, about his practice, nothing said there's a problem here. So I think it's a very complicated, huge contract. But I'm going to say, if I had to bet, I'm going to say it gets done by Saturday.
I mean, two things here. How big of a distraction does that become if it's not done by Sunday before kickoff? I mean, like you said, JJ seems cool and all signs are pointing to, yes, he wants to be here, yada, yada. And obviously, I think it's the term even more than the money, right? Because if he wants a 3-year, can cash out at 27 and move on if that's the case. But how much of a distraction can that become? As you mentioned, they don't want to do in-season negotiating, but if it doesn't get done, that's what's going to have to happen, obviously.
Well, he's playing out the final 2 years, including this season, of his rookie contract. So it's technically going to, if it's 3 years, which I think that you're probably right, that's the thing now. Get as much guaranteed cash, hit the market again at 27, 28. So I don't think it would be a huge distraction. I just think it's an unnecessary task. I think it just helps because, look, if we want to talk about distractions, there's no bigger distraction than a quarterback in a lame duck year, and Kirk Cousins is. So I don't know that it would be a distraction. I just think it's a task that is probably close enough just to get it done with, instead of having to go back and, to your point, have people talk about it, have it come up. But I mean, make no mistake, as the season progresses on, Jess, the Kirk Cousins thing is going to come up a lot. That's not dead. That's going to become a frequent conversation piece. And again, I think there's nothing more relevant contractually in season than a lame duck quarterback.
Well, what I want to know, Judd, is how much does the Kirk Cousins contract or lack thereof come up in the Justin Jefferson contract extensions? He might say, hey, look, if you're willing to pay me, I'd love to be here for 4 or 5 years. Who the heck is throwing me the ball? Because a lot of great wide receivers, they don't want to be stuck around with a first-year developmental quarterback or maybe a bridge guy. So I'm not saying that's a part of it, but I do believe that has to be a small factor of the back and forth. But also to your point, Judd, these are huge contracts with so much verbiage, so many layers. This thing is probably 80 to 90% of the way there. They're just working on some small, I don't want to say minute details, because obviously if they were minute, the deal would probably be done. But I think we're probably a heck of a lot closer to a deal than further from it.
Agreed. And I also think that it's important to note that while Jefferson probably does have questions about if the 2024 quarterback is going to be Kirk or somebody else, I think it's important to note that Kevin O'Connell's presence helps there a lot, because like quarterback's his baby. Like, this is not Zimmer, who is a defensive guy. And if you said, who's going to be our quarterback next year? You'd be like, yeah, I don't care. I hate quarterbacks. So I think it's probably more assuring to a player, especially who's about to break the bank, Jesse, that he is about to break the bank and he has a head coach who is incredibly invested in who's going to be throwing him the football. So I don't see this one as an acrimonious problem, and I think it gets done.
Final question heading into week 1 when they kick off at noon against Tampa Bay. What, if anything, do we need to see from week 1? What are we going to be really looking for? I mean, I know for me personally, as you'd mentioned, Flores in the defense. That's what I want to really check out. What do you guys think? Anything additional? What's going to be catching your eye, if you will, ideally in week 1?
Offensive consistency to me. Like, they came back, I believe they had 11 one-score wins last season, and Kirk Cousins tied a league record by having 8 comeback wins in the fourth quarter. But that was part and parcel of the fact that the offense would disappear for basically the middle 2 quarters. So I am looking for far more consistency, because this offense scoring-wise should be top 10, but it should be top 10 because it consistently scores, not because, oh my God, fourth quarter, we got to come back. That's not sustainable. And we all talked about that, but I feel like it got ignored of, okay, how do you fix that? You fix that by actually consistently scoring in the second and third quarters. The other thing about this game, and dare I say it because it's sort of hyperbole, you guys, but I think this is damn near a must win, because you got Philadelphia on a short week. You got Herbert. Yes, you got Carolina at Carolina, but that's not a sure thing because it's a road game. You've got Patrick Mahomes fairly quickly. Look like you are being gifted the Tampa Bay give up Buccaneers. It's Baker Mayfield. You should, in my opinion, come out and roll them. So I think this game is absolutely huge, because there's no way that I can sit here and say, I think the Vikings are going to go into Philly and win on a Thursday night. Like, that's a tall task. That would be an upset. So the importance of this game, because if you start 0-2 in this league, that's a problem. Like, that puts you behind the 8 ball. You can recover from it, but, to lose to Tampa Bay would be a really, really difficult start. So I think this game is huge from a Vikings perspective. Roscoe?
All good points from you, Judd, so I won't steal any of them, other than mine might go in hand with what you said. The defense, we all want to see it, so I'm not even going to bring that one up. I want to know, what does the running back rotation look like, but not just in week 1. I want to see that develop through the rest of September into October, because I think we know Madison's going to get the bulk of the carries, but what is the rest of the share going to look like? Who are we going to see? Who aren't we going to see? And more specifically, I guess, who's in on third down? Who's the one who they might want to catch the ball out of the backfield? So I'm looking forward to seeing that, mainly just because, Judd, maybe you would know off the top of your head, this has historically been a franchise that always has the quote-unquote bell cow. Robert Smith, Michael Bennett, Adrian Peterson, Dalvin Cook. When was the last time we really did any sort of running back by committee with the Minnesota Vikings? The Chester Taylor year, maybe, but he was still technically the number one back, and he did carry the ball a ton. So This is going to be new to Vikings fans, but this is also the NFL in 2023. So for the most part, I think we all need to get used to it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Exactly right.
I'd agree. There was a comment about running backs in our YouTube comments. Let's hop over into those, ladies and gentlemen, if you will, Ross.
Comments from YouTube.
Well, we'll start with that comment, Jesse. Look at you. You're such a fantastic host. 11 out of 10 stars.
Far down beauties. Yeah, she's good at it.
From Freight Train 1696. Can you equate the Moneyball philosophy when it comes to NFL running backs? That is Freight Train's comment. My question, in today's NFL, would you ever pay any running back good money? I'm comfortable with running back by committee. I think there's a certain value to the position still. It's not what it used to be. But I think, again, I've said this all the time. Go back and look at the last 10-year Super Bowl winners. Not many of them have a marquee running back. They're doing it with that quote-unquote running back by committee. So unless it's the right running back, I would not pay a running back top dollar. I might for a year or two if my cap was able to handle it like the Vikings just had. But note, once the Vikings were up against it, what was one of the first things they moved on from? So I would not. Judd and Jesse, how would you handle the running back conundrum?
Go ahead, Jess.
I'd agree. First of all, I just rewatched Moneyball for like the millionth time. I introduced my youngest to it. It was great. It's such a good movie. God,
if he's a good hitter, Jesse, why doesn't he hit good?
I just love it.
But get the Twins game right.
Yeah.
Get the come on.
Yeah,
Wrong.
fine.
Also,
Koski
perhaps
didn't catch the ball. It wasn't a night game. What the hell?
Also, perhaps maybe mention Barry Zito, Mark Mulder, and Tim Hudson just a little bit more. They had a bit. It wasn't just Scott Hatteberg and Chad Bradford doing all the work.
Still a great movie. Still love it. Love me some Brad Pitt. But no, I completely agree with you, Ross. It's similar to, this is my first hockey mention all episode, and it's going to be my only one. You don't overpay for a goalie, right? We always say that constantly over on Jed's Hockey Show. So, I mean, really, it is. It's a different game today, which is great. It's exciting. I love the way that sports go through ebbs and flows, and you have this is important this season, and this is important this year. It's a wide receivers game now, and that's fun. I love it. Not to say that I don't love the positioning backs can play, obviously, but I'd completely agree. Don't overpay for a running back.
Yeah, I'm going to pay, and I think your kid agrees with you. I'm going to pay.
He just saw Dalvin's deal for next year and got scared.
A quarterback. I'm going to pay a cornerback. I'm going to pay an edge rusher. Jesse said wide receiver. There are so many positions at which I'm going to pay guys first before I pay a running back. Where running backs got screwed, and look, I mean, the NFL Players Association for the most part is just ineffective. It's awful. But where backs got really screwed is the rookie contracts, which are slotted now. Because the reality is this: if you were ever going to pay a running back, it's his first contract. By their second contract, they're day old bread. Like, you might buy it, but it ain't going to be great, and you sure aren't going to pay top dollar for it. So there's no, like, by agreeing to what they did, they basically put the wheels in motion for a position at which you get punished. In the first part of your career, the problem is you get beat up. And there's no position that gets beat up like that position consistently. And so, yeah, in fact, the smartest move, and this, of course, takes a guy's career probably down a peg or two, but it's still smart. Kyle Shanahan with Deebo Samuel in San Francisco, which is to take a really talented wide receiver and say, yeah, we're going to throw caution to the wind and we're going to make you a running back too. Those type of creativity forms of football probably make the most sense. But yeah, if you have a kid who is a good athlete and you allow that child to become a running back, you are not a great parent.
I mean, putting Scott Hatteberg at first after
Scott
having an arm, right? You were able to move him around. So.
Yeah, but let's point this out: the A's never won a World Series. That's the other thing. You would think that they won, and I did read that Art Howe was not nearly as prickly as who's the guy that played him?
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman,
R.I.P. Yeah.
Who, by the way, I absolutely love. Yeah. I don't know if you guys back in the day saw Capote.
Yes,
but he's phenomenal. But anyway, yeah, the A's never did win a World Series with their particular formula.
Does Art Howe watch Moneyball very similar to how Lou Nanny watches Miracle and is just upset the entire time at the portrayal of his character?
I actually have read about it. He's just like, I didn't act like that. He's like, I wasn't like, that's not how I acted.
Art, right now, if there's a ground ball hit to first base, nobody's there to pick it up.
Yeah. When that, by the way.
Jeremy's gone too. I can do this all day.
Oh, that's great. I can do this all day.
Who's Fabio?
When Michael Lewis actually started the idea for that book, he actually approached Terry Ryan.
Twins, yeah.
And the twins were like, no, we're good. Thanks a lot. We're not going to be sharing our secrets. And then he went to the A's and like, absolutely.
Absolutely. We got nothing to lose here in Oakland.
Playing a dump of a stadium.
I got one more for you guys. Are you ready for this one? Judd, this one might rock your world. From @BadDadJoke2197. I know Declan is sports son, but Ross definitely looks like he could be Judd's kid. Judd? Are you my father?
How old are you, Roscoe?
I'll be 37 in October.
Then I hope not. Then there'd be I don't know. Declan's 30, right? So like he could.
Yeah,
he's 23 years my junior. Yeah, you don't qualify. No.
Do you see it, Jesse? Because I really don't. Judd's much better looking and in much better shape than I am. Maybe the hair a little bit, maybe.
But because in my eyes, you're Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
Well,
if I have to equate,
I'll shoot my eye out.
Yeah.
There is that.
Yes.
The one that I'm getting the most beat up for in the comments multiple times now, week in and week out, even going back to last year, is either who's weirder, Doogie or myself, or man, does Ross look like Doogie? And I can buy both of those. And I'm by far more weird than Doogie. It's not even close.
Are you?
You
know what
so.
I'd like to see? I'd like to see you two engage in a social talk-off.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Should Doogie and I do a once a week pod just talking about anything?
I mean, Doogs does not, he plows through, man. You can start to talk. Doogie's not done. It's Royce-like, but even more so.
Yeah.
I feel once you get started, you go, Roscoe, but it's more off the mic. And but you do have the courtesy of sort of, like if somebody else starts to talk, I feel like you slow up more. Doogs, he is a bell cow running back talker. Just plows through. Chuck Foreman, baby.
Does he get that running back money too? I mean,
yeah, that's why he's not
stole the
paid
words
more.
right out of my mouth, Jesse. Would he get that running back money?
That's why he's not paid more.
Love it.
Is
All right,
it time?
It's time. Let's hit it.
Time now for the Before I Die crew to give us their Before I Dies.
Ross, since we were giving you a hard time, why don't you start us off with your Before I Die?
Oh, we love Roscoe.
We love Roscoe.
I'm sure you do, and I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here and happy to
And
take
by
the
love,
punishment.
I mean I like you.
And by the way, did you flat out refuse? I think you did say that I'm not your son, correct?
Yeah, you're not my son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Declan, actually, he's not, but he could be. Age-wise, I got to draw a line.
Also, if you knew my father, I look exactly like my father, who looks nothing like Judd.
You
Before
were born when I
I
was
die,
16. I'm not taking that one.
before I die, ladies and gentlemen, college football will not rank teams until after the first weekend in October. And here's why.
I like this.
Is Ross surprised Colorado beat TCU? Slightly. Is Ross incredibly surprised? No, because TCU really wasn't very good last year. And then we go through this year and we put TCU in the top 20, and Colorado goes there and beats a historically bad defense again, and now everybody wants to put Colorado in the college football playoff. Colorado will not sniff the college football playoff this year. Quit ranking teams the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. We don't know how good any of these teams are going to be. I could have told you Clemson, who lost this weekend, is going to lose 2 or 3 or 4 games this year. Yet they're ranked in the top 10 and fall to Duke. Stop doing it. I know why they do it, but stop doing it.
I agree completely.
Gets
but
me worked
it's not
up.
going
I despise it.
Too much money, too much excitement around. You got to do it. That's what they're going to do. They like their teams that they like, and they don't like their teams that they don't like. That's college football for you.
It also keeps teams out of the college football playoff who maybe could be there if they didn't start the year ranked so low or outside of the top 25.
Yeah.
I despise it.
But at least now they mean a lot less, because they do come along in November with the first edition of the actual rankings that matter. Like when I was a kid, the national champion was decided by the AP and UPI polls. That might be among the stupidest things in the history of the world.
But the rankings that matter still take into apart your record and your other rankings. So it's just, to me, it's a stupid system.
I can get on board with
That's
that.
all.
I can get on board with that. I can get on board with that. I support that. There's a lot of things I'd change about college football. A lot of things I'd keep the same. A lot of things I would change. Judd, what's your before I die for this week?
Before I die, after it's September 5th today, September 4th, something like that.
5th. Yep.
And we're on a third or fourth consecutive day of 90 plus. Before I die, there will be a summer where the temperature will not get above 85 and preferably be 75 most of the summer. Love it. So just a little 10 degrees. I never need to see the 90s. If I wanted to, I'd move to a place where it's usually in the 90s. Mm-hmm. But I would love a summer where, in fact, it's supposed to get tepid. I love that word. It's going to get tepid in the next few days. I think we're going to dip down into highs in the 70s, lows in the 60s. Absolute perfection. And I've never enjoyed the late summer resurgence. You know, I'm not done yet. I got a couple more 90. No. I don't want to have to use my air conditioner. I don't want to sweat that much. And I love a nice tepid day. So before I die, I will have a summer where I never have to see 90 degrees unless I actually go to Florida.
I'm amending my before I die to add that before I die, Judd will be downstairs with KSTP Channel 5 doing the weather at the 6 o'clock news.
I can't do the green
coming
screen.
in is a tepid cold front.
I can't do the green screen. That green screen would intimidate the hell out of me.
Oh, that's fun.
Pointing at a screen with no. Yeah. How do you? So are you
There's
looking
a
at the
TV.
monitor?
You watch it. Yeah, you watch the monitor, so then you can kind of see. You just got to know your opposite.
That's it. It's opposite. I'd be so confused by that.
Yeah. I'm with Roscoe here. I'm a guy. I'm standing off the green screen.
I could do it. It hilariously, Judd. That was exactly mine. By the way, I was going to talk about this sweltering summer heat. I'm done sweating, so I'll tailor it to say before I die, I will stop saying. Huh? Yeah, a little audible where it's put me on the spot. Before I die, I will stop saying, at least there's a breeze today, or at least there's a slight wind. The amount of times I have said that and felt like a dad the past few days has just been atrocious. I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to stop saying this. I mean, it's true. Like, if there was no breeze,
I got no problem with it. Yeah.
I would have been dead, but I just would rather not say it. I didn't golf. I was slinging drinks.
Oh, you were slinging drinks today.
I was slinging drinks. So slightly less sweaty, but not less movement.
How's that gig going?
It's a lot of work. I understand now why college kids are kind of the preferred choice. Like, their bodies are just much more like able to carry heavy things back and forth. Yesterday was a lot. It was a lot. It's a lot of fun. I love it. But holy cow, just people buying shots or like.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Do men get drunk and become more obnoxious as they 100%. Get drunk to the cart girl?
Yes.
That's a big cliche, so I figured it was true.
No, it's fairly true. It's very much, I have equated the golf course as I've seen it from the non-playing perspective, very much like a locker room, I think. So, in a lot of ways. Yes.
But not the wild where they're very respectful of you.
No. It's probably just, or a fraternity house maybe would be an appropriate comparison. But everyone is very sweet. Like, today was their last day of their senior league, and I love chit-chatting with, it's fun. It is fun. I like it.
Jesse, just don't step on any logos that may be on the ground at the golf course.
Right.
Okay? Just don't step on any logos.
That's one thing we'll learn. Well, as always, you guys, this is Before I Die on Purple Daily Score North. Tons of Vikings content all over on Purple Daily and Score North. We are here each and every week, normally on a Monday. In case you guys didn't know, today is not a Monday. It is Tuesday, even if it feels like a Monday. Throws us all off with Labor Day. We will be back again next week. On behalf of Judd, Ross, and myself, Jesse, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, rate, share. Love you. Have a great day.
Let's get a big win in Hennepin County this weekend.